Hey y'all, it's LG. And today my guest is someone very near and dear to my heart. She is the smartest and strongest woman that I know and I love, Raquel RC. She is a physical therapist at Keck Medical Center at USC. And I just want to welcome you, Raquel.
Thanks, LG. It's really a pleasure to be here.
I wanted to give you the floor and share a little bit about who you are and what you do.
I'm a physical therapist, acute care physical therapist at Keck Medical Center of USC, but technically I'm a clinical instructor of physical therapy for the Division of Biokinesiology and Physical Therapy for University of Southern California, where primarily I'm an acute care therapist, but I'm also involved in teaching the Doctor of Physical Therapy program. And that's what I've been doing since I graduated in 2019.
How long have you been teaching for the DPT program?
Last semester, the fall, was my first semester teaching. It was all online, of course, due to the pandemic. And I got to be a live session instructor for a cardiopulmonology disease and, all that fun stuff. Let's just leave it at that.
Wow. Okay. That's a lot. I mean, I think that's awesome that you're still involved with the program that you graduated from and you're still working at a hospital that's associated with USC. So you're definitely a hardcore Trojan here.
Yeah, I never thought it would be so streamlined to this point, but it's all like stacking up, and I never knew like my dream job would be this realistic so early in the journey, and it's here.
I know that we're still in COVID times, pandemic times, and big shout out to you because you are at the front lines of all of this. What has it been like in terms of your experience doing PT during the pandemic?
When people ask this question, I started working for Keck the beginning of 2020, and I only knew what normal was because I was a student there the previous year, my last semester at USC. I was also interning or clinical rotation at Keck. So that's my only version of normal that I can compare to. So once the pandemic hit, they asked for volunteers in regards to treating patients with COVID. And of course, when you compare yourself to other coworkers who have families or live with the elderly, it's hard to come from a standpoint where like you don't want to volunteer. I felt strongly about being on the front lines, figuring out with colleagues what's the best treatment guidelines that we can use, because there really wasn't anything out there for acute care therapists to really grab from, research-based, evidence-based. So from the start, I volunteered. All of our colleagues went from different timelines of treatment on where we wanted to be involved, and collaborated and created our own protocol, which is used at our hospital. And we also shared our info with Verdugo Hills, which is another USC affiliated hospital. Mm-hmm. So it's been, from a physical therapy standpoint, it's been a really great learning opportunity. It was scary, but now in this process of onboarding multiple people to join our team, now that we're mostly all vaccinated now, it's not as scary as it seems. It's almost safer.
Sure.
But I first want to say at Keck Medical Center, yes, we are in LA, the next hot spot, as you would say, but our numbers at Keck are much lower than any other hospital in the LA County region, because we tend to get either higher level of cases where they need even higher level of care, more so like mechanical circulatory support, so replacing the heart and lungs, or that are within our own private insurance system. So the most of the numbers we've ever had is like 60 as compared to like 300 at other hospitals. So it's not as overwhelming as other hospitals have been, but I will not say it's not frustrating or tiring or exhausting, because these patients are the sickest patients we've ever seen, and they pass so easily and so quickly.
Mm-hmm. I know that must be very difficult in terms of the feelings that you have or coping with what happens at work. Those are very delicate situations. These are lives. How do you decompress and separate yourself from your work?
I know I've sat on this a lot because it is heavy, and I feel like I would not be able to get through this without my coworkers. They've become my social support because I spend the most time with them now. Thank goodness. I know not many people can say that, but at least with us frontline workers, we at least have each other because we are going into our own workspaces. Going back to therapy, I've been going on and off with therapy for years now, and just being able to talk through my emotions. I've never, Lauren, I've never been someone who can talk through their emotions, and this is absolutely new territory for me. I've dealt with teaching students and the youth, but having patients who are relying on me in their worst times of their life to give them comfort, it's hard to say you don't take that home, because I do. And I want to say a shout out to all the therapists, physical, occupational, speech, and even our own psychiatry or social workers, because most of the time we're the ones who are spending the most time with these patients, whether it's the stigma or they're scared. Most other healthcare workers are either calling by phone when they're right outside the door, or they come in for literally less than 5 minutes to decrease exposure and get the hell out of the room. I can spend hours in these rooms, and sometimes it's just them crying and giving them a moment to just talk to somebody because no one else has spent time with them. It's a lot.
Yeah, that is a lot. Do you have other outlets for you that allow you to completely unplug?
I don't think I ever completely unplugged, but I do exercise. I'm a spin bike user. I've grown to love the Peloton app. That is my jam. I used to do yoga. I don't think I'm at that space yet to actually breathe. It's been like a year of this pandemic feeling where I even feel like it's on my chest at all times, and I'm not ready for something so relaxing, if you would say. Yeah. I try journaling, not the best at it, but I try. And honestly, I debrain by watching Friends on Netflix without doing anything else, if I can. But you also know, LG, that I am the worst at doing one relaxing thing.
Okay. Well, then why don't I just dig in? Let me just dig in a little bit further, because I know that you and I have really connected on mental health or wellness, or just what it feels like to not feel normal. That kind of leads us to your journey.
I mean, if you want to go deep into things, it's that living in an Asian household where honestly, I think, yes, you had to become a doctor, you had to become an engineer, get straight A's, all those things. There was that normal pressure all of us felt, right? But I think I personally took that to the next step. In academia or in performing as a dancer, I had to be the best. I was going to do everything to become the best. And this old soul who is always trying to reach these certain levels that I created was so exhausting. I graduated in 4 years from undergrad, because I had to, right? I had to. And then I was like, oh, I need to do something big. Oh, I don't want to be a nurse. I'll be a doctor of physical therapy. Thank God, was the right choice. But it was all very rushed. Got into the program, what we all been talking about, imposter syndrome. Because everyone's smart in grad school. They say C's get degrees, but you never lose that fight in you to want to be the best. And all of that, the pressures, the imposter syndrome, the big change in my life, moving from Florida back to California, I don't think I was ever prepared for that feeling of depression, to the point which my friends, my close net of girls in physical therapy school, noticed something was different about me. And me being completely unaware about emotions or anything of mental health, that led to this spiral of September 18th, 2014 was my suicide attempt. And from that moment forward, my whole life changed for the better. Since then, it's been growing as a person and finding different therapists, strange psychiatrists, going through that whole process, and learning now with my husband, who's been in this amazing support system. That's where it all started, and where I still am figuring things out. So what's 2021, and it's still a process.
One of the things that I'm curious about when you're mentioning like trying to be the best, where did these standards come from that you placed for yourself?
It's those side conversations from grandma and grandpa, from your parents, where you hear like them gossiping about some other family, or like, oh, did you hear about so and so? They got pregnant and are now working at a grocery store, which there's nothing wrong with working at a grocery store. But you hear this all day long, or I'm praised for getting A's. Like, of course, I'm going to keep going for that. I mean, my grandmother gave me money for every A I had. So you associate good grades and trying not to be the gossip of next family party. It just always builds. And you see it in your parents, the way their relationships are with their parents. It's about how they can brag about their jobs and their careers, and has nothing to do with who they are as people.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Yeah.
Looking back to high school, you made it look so easy, like nothing was ever wrong. And aside from the fact that that was what I saw in high school, we still kept in touch while you were in Florida. And then when you came back to California to go to school at USC, that I had visited you probably like a month before your attempt. And I know you were running around, like you had to
Right.
go. You had to like leave. You tried to make time to like have a conversation with me, which I appreciated. But I also felt the energy of you feeling so out of it. And, I didn't say anything because I wasn't sure if that was just the Raquel growing up. Like, this is just Raquel going through her serious phase of like being a DPT. I get it. But learning to be a friend as well, it's also hard to know when to step in.
Yeah, there was, I mean, I'm not blaming anyone, of course. Even if someone did have that frank conversation with me, I don't think it would have hit. Like, I had these amazing people in my life, and you are absolutely one of them. You were right there watching me like suffer. And you knew me as me. Nothing has changed. I was always this 150% woman who acts like everything is okay. But at that moment in my life, like, I was obviously not okay. And I could even see it in your face, something was off, but like, I don't know, I'm okay, I'm fine, right? Totally. I'm, thinking, but whatever. I don't think anyone could have really changed it. It was going to happen for me. Someone who doesn't know anything about mental health, they would never know the signs.
Yeah. And I guess like in retrospect, what were those feelings that you felt?
It's like when they talk about those things that disappear, that bring you joy. Like, I was not exercising. I was not me with a group of people. I'm normally very sociable. I love having deep conversations with people one-on-one. And I was like this blank person who just smiled and laughed every once in a while, overeating, not enjoying yoga, not lifting weights, or just like talking to my family, even if it's a 5-minute conversation. It became text messages to avoid. I knew at that point I probably was just avoiding telling people how I felt, but just, putting on that mask that I was okay. Well, yeah, I'm doing great in my clinical, but honestly, I was really suffering. I think it came down to just everything what I value as myself, or what I see myself as, was just disappearing underneath me.
Yeah, girl, that's a lot.
It is.
I definitely respect the fact that you're able to open up about this because it is very hard. What do you feel like helped you get better from that experience?
It takes looking at who you're surrounding yourself with. Like, once I got over the shame part, which was really hard, because I pretty much cut myself off from most of the world to make sure they never knew that I had a suicide attempt, and just taking it as a step back. This is nothing to be ashamed about. This is life. Life is hard. You learned about emotional well-being a little later than ideal, sure. And I honestly cut out a lot of people who were at the root of the problem. In terms of who you surround yourself with is a huge deal. And I was surrounding myself by negative people who were criticizing, and probably brought that out of me as well. And that's not who I wanted to be anymore. So, I kept people who I wanted in my life, like you, or my small other group of people. That's what it takes. You need positivity and growth with the right people.
Mm-hmm. And I know that you had also came back to the Bay for a little bit after all of that had happened, and you were actually taking a break. from school? I know you've been like, do this by a certain time, do this by a certain time. You're very on top of things. But when that happened, I'm curious how you felt having to give yourself that full pause.
It was really rough. It's like reinventing yourself. I had to convince myself, one, is physical therapy really what I want to do? Or was I just following a path that made me a doctor? And I became a Pure Barre instructor. I kept teaching color guard. I doing all sorts of strange exercise things. At one point, I tried to be an ambassador for like fitness things, not a social media guru. I felt like I still had to hide even through that. I still took a long time to get over the shame part of things, working through therapy or just telling people like you my story, where the feedback I had was always okay. I was going to be fine, that life would move on regardless. But it took 3 years to actually decide and fulfill like what I wanted to do. And I had to decide I wanted to do physical therapy. And it's what I wanted to do. And it's not who I am. It's just what I like to do now.
How long were you out of school for?
I think I think I went back after 2.5 years. I had I think 2 official years off, and then like a semester where they gave me one class to wean myself in, and then a second semester where it was like 2 classes to wean myself back in, because I personally didn't think I was ready for like a 5-class semester to kick my ass, and it was a good idea.
That's good. How did you feel when you started taking classes again?
I made a personal choice to come back without the original graduating class. Oh, they were already graduated. I wanted to make sure they were gone. Didn't really matter. No. But personally, I think I needed that. So it was just a new class, a new people, and I was this like outsider who was taking one class. I was commuting from India, so I left at like 4 a.m. to make it to Riverside, take a train into LA and a bus to campus for an 8 o'clock class. It was not easy, but it was like the beginning of, damn, life is hard and it's going to be okay, which I don't think I ever heard before.
But you felt that at least when you started that.
Yes, absolutely. It's like, oh my God, what did I do to myself? And it's like, oh, this time I can actually like take a second and breathe, and it's going to be okay. And I have a lot of support that I never knew I had. And it was right there versus drowning by myself.
What I like about what you're saying, it's going to be okay. Like, I also struggled with the positive self-talk part. Like, the negative stuff is like, get that shit done, go. And sometimes you don't need a kick in the ass. You need like an arm around your shoulder to just like coddle you and be like, it's cool, you're good. And
yes.
I struggled with that. It seems similar in that sentiment that either it like didn't exist or like you're just practicing it more.
It's like awareness, because I'm sure I had people who were trying to give me that kind of love that I thought I didn't need, and I just kept pushing it away or just like didn't hear it. I'm sure, because now when I look, like, oh, like, love me, hold me. Like, I can say those things even if I don't know exactly what I'm feeling, but it's a whole different mindset where you have to be more aware of what you're emoting and who's around you. Absolutely. And I hate now when I do exercise videos and the person's like all about motivation. This is the only way. You can't give up or you're going to fail. I hear the word failure one more time, I swear. I can't handle those kind of people and those things anymore. Like, that self-talk is not me. It's not you. It's not helpful. We need to take a step back and relax, live life. Don't keep looking at step 2.
I know that you eventually got through your program.
Yes, I did.
How was that experience? Like, you obviously were with a fresh batch and you finally got what you came there for.
I don't think I would have been able to have the same opportunities the first time around that I got the second time. Like, coming back, of course, I worked with one of the research labs in oncology and got to be like a personal trainer for patients with cancer. and was able to create better relationships with my professors. It wasn't about getting an A, it was just learn the content and understand the content and practice it and like enjoy the process. It was a whole different mindset. And actually, like, I was older by this point. I mean, coming in, I would have graduated at 25 versus 28. And you look at these people as if like, oh, like that stuff matters to you, or what you're wearing or whatever. Like, oh no, like I just want to be the best PT I can be to be able to serve and help others. Like your mindset's so different in 3 years. And I think when I graduated, how I graduated was exactly what my plan was supposed to be.
Well, sometimes what you think is going to happen turns out some other way, but it ends up better. And you just would have never thought about that yourself.
Yeah, exactly. I know it was a blessing in disguise, but it was a lot of hell to fight my way back through.
You went for a ride. You went for a ride.
I feel like now it's hard. I think I have these conversations with you all the time. How do you still, like, in essence, we are goal-oriented folks. How do you not define yourself by your achievements? Like, that is so hard. I mean, do you have an answer for that?
I still struggle with that too. So I'm editing this video now and I'm realizing that my overachievement overshadows other qualities of me that I don't usually highlight because I feel like these types of things are very mediocre in contrast to all the accomplishments that I've done professionally. So let me just start with a list after reflecting on this question for a little bit. I'm a cat mom. I really enjoy researching mid-century modern furniture, and lately my fascination has been with floor lamps. I really enjoy spontaneity. I went to Coney Island and went to go see the snow on the beach, and right after that, I was able to get a chili cheese hot dog at Nathan's. Like Raquel, I really struggle at focusing on one thing at a time, but I was able to finally muster up the courage to start this YouTube channel where I can share my story as well as give a platform for others to lift their voices and share their stories as well. So thanks, Raquel, for reciprocating the effort and asking these really challenging questions that I don't ask myself. I think it's really important to take a step back and reflect on who I am as a person instead of focusing on what my ambition has helped me accomplish. I need that breather. And that's why it helps when I can text you just in the middle of the day, be like, happy Tuesday, happy hump day on Wednesday, just to check in because I feel like my support system helps me feel leveled out, even if I feel sometimes unsure about like, I don't have a next step. And it's like, you don't need a next step right now. You don't need to go anywhere. Like everything's fine. You're probably just tripping about step 2.
Exactly.
When we have the conversation to just check ourselves and be like, is this cool? Are we doing this right? Are we at the right point in our lives? Like, why do we keep checking anyway? You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
I also found it really important in a reminder to myself to not always tell you when good things happen. Like, it's so easy to be like, girls, check what I did at work, or like, look at this thing I made, or look at this cool contraption I made. It's so easy to do that, and it's not authentic. It's not genuine, especially for our relationship, how much we know about each other. It's like, I should be able to tell you, like, girl, this happened today, and I just need you to listen. I need you to tell me everything's going to be okay. And that's my commitment to my friendship with you is I need to get better at that. And those check-ins make such a huge difference in the way I can, like, I don't think very well. As smart as I am, I don't think about the emotional side stuff very well. You're my journal because I'm so terrible at journaling. Like, you're my journal. Like, girl, check me.
I know. Conversations about like, oh, I'm going to go on Instagram for like a month. You did a whole month. I did like 20 days because that's all I could take. We get really distracted by like the outside shit. The fact that there are other people that you might be following that you're just like, do I really need to be following this person? I'm sure they don't care if I unfollow them. I haven't talked to them like directly in like 6 years, you know?
Yeah.
It's petty shit like that we tripping over. It's like that's not the important part. The important part is like, what do you want to look at? What do you enjoy? Have those conversations with yourself.
Yes, exactly. And that's why I send you memes about being a cat mom or whatever, because that is way more fun than the crap that I compare myself to about someone who I don't know, never met, and just really like their content. It's not important. I just feel like I have to check myself. If not, you do that because my mind will go somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah. You're still working through things. We get it. But what does that better Raquel experience look like for you?
I want to say, but I'm not gonna brag about it because it's still a work in process. But sometimes I'm just able to sit in my life, and I've never been able to do that. To be in my career and not worry about living off some grad school budget and enjoy my husband and my dog.
He's the one to see. We'll be right back. Good boy, dude! Hey! Go on, dude! Go on! Let me check. She's left her house.
All right, we're working on it.
Do dog park days, and that's the highlight of your week. Like, I've never been able to do that. It's always been the hustle. So I'm tired of the hustle. There are just more important things now. Like, I'm into camping. Who would have thought I would be into camping and, breathing fresh air? Like, I never had time for that before. And now I get to actually like think about the things that are important to me, whether that's minimalism or, which I'm still working on, is giving my energy and time to the people I love, which is strangely difficult for me. I think my circle gets smaller and smaller every decade, which is a good thing. But the summary of it all, I think I'm just a much more genuine, authentic person. And that is where my goal is, of just be me, sit in me for a moment and not be so like, where am I in 10 years or where am I in 20 years?
Mm-hmm. I feel like the rigidity of what our expectations were when we were younger is very naive. But at the same time, too, I think we're the type to also learn the hard way.
Oh, yeah.
That's the most difficult part sometimes. You're just like, oh, you didn't see that one coming. Figure it out. What was the plan? Where's my notes?
We are stubborn.
I know. I know that you are very present in your experiences right now. Where do you see yourself in the next decade, next 10 years?
Well, if you didn't know about public student loan forgiveness, I'm hoping that solves my student debt issue, because that does hang over me. As much as I want to live in the present, being financially stable is the dream, right? Where I do want to own my own home and play DIY all day and still find time to volunteer internationally. That's still really important to me, doing like physical therapy work in different countries and meeting different types of people and learning different cultures. And I do want to live in London. Never been, but for some reason I'm obsessed. And if I were to ever have a child, if I want them to have a British accent and live that life, that's genuinely where I see myself in 10 years.
I didn't know that part. Okay, this is a caveat I never heard. What is your fascination with London?
I don't know. It sounds really fun and different, but everyone still speaks English. I love like Latino cultures. I want to live in South America, but something brings me to London where I'm like, oh, I'll be comfortable. People speak my language and they have this really great accent that maybe I'll pick up, but probably not because I'm so American. But exactly, why not?
It's a dream. Okay. That's why I asked, because I'm still like, I want to move to France then. If they're really, we're just gonna take the train and we'll see each other.
Exactly, because at some point, whether it's this decade or the next, I would like to be less than 2 hours from you, whether flying or not. But I'd prefer it to be walking distance. But
Oh, Raquel. Is there anything else you feel like dishing?
I just want people to know, don't be defined by your careers. Be you. Love you. Be genuine.
You tell him, Raquel. Tell him. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. Raquel, you have been so wonderful, honest and candid about everything that you've gone through in your life. And look at you. You're a beautiful, wonderful young woman doing the damn thing on the front lines. I respect you, girl. Thank you so much for joining today.
Thanks, LG. Love you.
I'll catch you later.
Bye.
Bye.